I'm going to be making a video about DC Cosmology, and I've been overlooking my scans, and according to this scan, there's a possible interpretation that literally that all of Marvel, DC, all of that is contained within just the bleed. But with that, let's begin. I need a theme song. Anyways, Grant Morrison, in this interview, he's talking about how the current models of multiverse theory and cosmology, what cosmologists are saying, and he's kind of inspired and likes the idea of that. And he creates a metaphor of like a champagne glass and all of the bubbles rising and falling, and that's what the real multiverse looks like. It's a much bigger scale. It's infinite. These bubbles, there's so many of them out there that there's the Marvel multiverse and there's the DC multiverse, and over there's the Archie multiverse. I figure it gives us a scope of every comic universe exists somewhere in there, but the DC universe is the one we're familiar with. The orrery of worlds, as we've called it, and it's floating in this source with multiple multiverses. So yeah, this is kind of confusing because if we look at the DC map, the multiverse shows the orrery of worlds contains all of the DC multiverses, and I'm just gonna call it multiverse, but be aware DC multiverse contains infinite multiverses. But like the orrery of worlds is floating in this source with multiple multiverses, right? But there's a problem with that. Let me pull it up. As you can see, the orrery of worlds, i.e. the bleed, is look at that. It's beneath the God Sphere and under that. So my question is, well, where's Marvel? Where's DC and all? Where's Marvel and Archie and all of that? Are there other variants of the bleed? Is the superflow a variant of the bleed? That brings up so many questions on Orrery of Worlds doesn't refer to the whole multiverse too, so we can't say Marvel's out in the overvoid, even though it probably is. So we really can't confirm where DC and Marvel exist within one another as of yet. Now I want to get into DC. It talks about the metaverse and how infinite alternate quantum realities form from your singular decision, and every event or non-event spawns these countless realities. And it's talking about how this all forms from the universe. So like that's what it means by infinite multiverses. Each universe has its own metaverse of these realities, which basically creates its own multiverse. And remember, Darkseid, Mxyzptlks exists in all of these universes, i.e. metaverses. So yeah, the bleed should definitely be high outer, and way above high outer actually, because it contains Darkseid's avatars and Mxyzptlks and emanations of the God Sphere in fifth dimension, which just has emanations and ideas are high outer versal. So yeah, I'd like to go into DC scans of the bleed again. The bleed and Hypertime and all of that shows of infinite multiverses. So basically, infinite multiverses are confirmed. let's see. The dark multiverse has kind of been retconned as it's stated to be below them, i.e., the bleed. So the dark side of the bleed, maybe. And you guys may be confused as to where Hypertime fits. Here's where Hypertime fits. Okay, so there's Wonderworld, right? You guys may not know about this, but Armageddon in an ish, that's like a storyline Grant Morrison wrote, and Wonderworld's where the new gods made super weapons to combat and prepare for the battle with Armageddon, and they got demolished, so they don't really matter. But yeah, they got demolished, and the Wonderworld is in Hypertime, and so just right here at the Speed Force wall, Hypertime should be here. And then there's this. Right where my mouse is. Oh, what in the world? As you can see there is also Quiz, which is from the storyline where Wally West goes at that transversal speed and beats instant teleportation. Yeah. Where those beings who are made of radio waves or something like that, they exist outside the Aurea worlds and the bleed. Well, they are within the bleed, just not the Aurea worlds. So, yeah, they should be outside. They should have high outer speed. And once again, DC's really underplayed, and so is Marvel's. But yeah, these guys have high outer versal just in the bleed and speed wall and all that. Now I'd like to go over this. Darkseid falling out of heaven and onto the multiverse. Just his shadow, not even him, just his shadow is falling over everything and is gonna crush everything. Beings and new gods like Darkseid, like as you can see here, the anti-life equation is the long sought ultimate weapon of the evil Darkseid, a mathematical formula for absolute control, capable of disproving the very concept of free will and enslaving all who are exposed to it. It is the E equals MC squared of despair. And so, yeah, the concept of free will can get removed by Darkseid if he can wield the anti-life equation, and he can. New gods can wield that sort of stuff. Even like Scott Free, who's like a regular quote unquote new god, he can wield stuff like that. The scaling for him and it's crazy. Here we can get into Mr. Miracle. He is described as master of the life equation. Life equation comes from the source. Avatar of freedom. He was groomed by the new gods to be the hero of the eternal source, to embody the spirit in all things. So, similar to how Darkseid is the whole in all things, Mr. Miracle is the spirit in all things. So Mr. Miracle should actually what he represents should scale way up to true form Darkseid and above, and should be above possibly Orion and Highfather. Here, the interplay of light and shadow. Each one absolute in its own sphere, yet forever limited by the other. Yes, and forever bound to be where the other is not. Without light, we would know no shadow, and without shadow, dot dot dot. But so here, Darkseid's saying how he's absolute, omnipotent within his own sphere, i.e., Apokolips. Um, let's see. Here's how Darkseid describes it: the dualities. Will it? Can you build a brave new world without balance? Light and shadow, day and night, waking and dreaming, and when the dreams grow most vivid, it is Darkseid that you see. You have much to learn, my son, much to learn. Come try to kill me again, scot-free, when you can. I will be waiting. I will always be waiting. And the little comic says there are gods and there are gods and then there's Darkseids. So Darkseid's pretty high up in scaling. Now I'm gonna jump way ahead into the monitor and anti-monitor. So these guys basically so Mobius has said like the walls this wall renders the function of my domain obsolete. The antimatter universe was meant to contain the rest from the overvoid. You have ensured I will oversee a wasteland while you oversee an ocean of infinite worlds rising and falling. So basically, like, the antimatter universe was meant to contain literally everything in the DC Multiverse map, from getting out into the overvoid and possibly corrupting the overvoid. So, yeah, that's crazy scaling if you think about it. So even beings like New Gods would eventually get stopped at this antimatter universe. Possibly connected to the Eschaton. Here, the anti-life equation, undoing reality itself, and as you can see, that's Apokolips, and a high reversal reality. So, let's see. Brainiac made defenses that can kill a new god. So even when Darkseid's at the level of a regular new god, he's still having trouble fighting these things. So, Eschaton. Space trembles. The Eschaton are the carrion eaters of anti-life. It was said they would come when the fourth world was dying to bear the bones of the new gods. They are hungry. They have waited to feast since the dawn of this multiverse. This multiverse grammatically and narratively implies that they do this in other multiverses too, which makes sense if the anti-life is the split half of the source. So, anti-life should actually scale above Perpetua and above the monitors and all of them. So, anti-life now is the source and the presence are like the same being, like, right? So, anti-life now is like the dark half or the split half of the presence himself. So that's an interpretation. Take it as you will, but anti-life is now way up there. In Eschaton, a singular one. Remember their race. Like, they are capable of taking out new god level beings. Remember Cyborg, Starfire, all of them, like, that went in to the Ghost Sector for Justice League Odyssey. Yeah, they were amped and retconned by Darkseid using Hypertime to become new gods. uh Darkseid explaining what sepulchre and the ghost zone and all that is. It is it is an ark, a lifeboat. In your vernacular, a panic room to protect those within from the source wall disaster. This is the new god's contingency against the death of the multiverse. The worlds of the ghost sector have been seeded with relics akin to the other box in the multiverse key, which can combine to activate Sepulchre, a bastion to protect life from the source detonation. You must help me find the relics. I am too weak, too hurt, and there is no time to waste. Uh, the source detonation, so like the source's energy is gonna be exploding out and gonna possibly kill all of them. That maybe that's what he means, or he's referring to the hands, and just doesn't know like that's what that explosion is. The hands. Uh, this is the end of the fourth age as well, as you can see here. The source wall has fallen. The fourth age has ended. Apokolips and New Genesis are no more. The death spiral of this multiverse has begun. Once again, this multiverse, so multiple multiverses, i.e., multiple DC like maps in cosmologies. Long ago, my culture predicted this event, a final darkness. I have spent millennia preparing contingency plans to defy it, and they must now be enacted without delay. So, and at the bottom, it's showing how they're gods now. So basically, from what I'm interpreting, the source itself may actually be under threat from Perpetua corrupting it and her doom energies and scheming. Remember the hands, like once Batman Who Laughs, who absorbed Perpetua and had Manhattan's power, like they were like he would have killed us, like. So yeah, I have to say, and I think this final darkness may be the great darkness that the uh they are chasing an infinite frontier. So this is scaling's wild. I'm not sure how a whole timeline of DC would work, but I do know this cosmology is getting crazy. Ah, gods from the dark multiverse. So there are higher parts of the dark multiverse. Uh, these gods are like these gods are very fundamental concepts like goddess of war, uh, goddess of chaos, and the god with no name, and like I think something related to dream was happening. So I feel like these guys are more akin to the endless, if anything, like dark versions of it. Like, let me show you. Right here, Carnell, the dark god of love, and like the twisted idea of it. So he scales and is relative to all of these guys, and King Best scales above all of them. So yeah, I feel like these are more endless tier, if anything, not just regular tier. After all, the Dark Multiverse should be bigger than the regular multiverse. The Dark Multiverse as a whole, including everything, should be bigger than possibly or should at least be equal to possibly the Source and the Overvoid and all of that. Perpetua and World Forger were just filling it up with worlds, so yeah. The Infinite Multiverse scan, already seen, already shown. Darkseid's battle with Anti-Monitor literally blurred the line between men and gods. So these two drastic concepts literally got blurred during their battle and because of their battle. So yeah, that's crazy scaling for Darkseid and all of DC's and monitors and all of that. So yeah, have a good one. Marvel's next after I go a bit more into DC. Well, it's gonna be DC Marvel sort of thing. Yeah. Have a good one.